You were talking about the short bracket of time that the
Yeah.
courtesans had the opportunity to really make their career. I think about today's time and the young models
Yeah.
who have, you know, such a very short period of time.
Yes.
Is it true that in the Renaissance that the women that we see painted are courtesans?
Well, if you see them,
Nude, I mean.
I was going to say, if you see them without any clothes on, those are probably the only people they could have been. The inspiration for the character of the courtesan comes from really quite a famous painting, which is in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, by the Venetian painter Titian, called The Venus of Urbino. And she is a very luscious, beautiful young woman lying on a couch and actually looking out and holding the eyes of the person watching her, which is a remarkable thing. It was quite revolutionary at this moment in the history of art, that there were pictures of Venuses naked, but they were always pretending to be modest and looking away, whereas she looks at you. And the more research I did into her, the more I realized that she would almost certainly have been a courtesan living in Venice, because Titian knew a number of courtesans, and they did indeed sit for him. But it's interesting you should talk about young models, because I think that there is a comparison with these young women, because the moment in their lives when they were most successful and earned the most amount of money was when they were at times painfully young, and yet they had to have their heads screwed on not to be ruined by the business. You know, one of the things that I think about my own life is I had a great early career and I did very well in it, but I wasn't particularly famous or well known. That came much later when I first worked in television and then later went on to be lucky enough to write best-selling novels. Mm-hmm. So at the point when, if you like, both the literal and the metaphorical camera was on me, I was sort of old enough to know a bit who I was, to not have myself knocked off gear by people asking me intrusive questions or people wanting a bit of the action or whatever. I kind of knew who I was, and I knew I wasn't that interested in fame. I was interested in doing what I wanted to do rather than fame.
Right.
But when I think about those young courtesans who will probably have started work at the age of 15 or 16, because one of the things that they will have done was to sold their virginity. It sounds shocking now, it was not so shocking then. Most young women got married at 15 and 16 during this period of time. And I think about those painfully young models who are picked off a street at 14 or 15, are on a catwalk doing shoots or whatever, probably with very little sense of who they yet are in terms of their own personality, yet with the whole world being thrown at them. I think it's very, very difficult. So I think there is absolutely comparison. And you know, when you said to me, I was never that kind of interested in history, I think the other thing is, it takes us a bit of time to realize we're living in history ourselves, right? And therefore history is the present as well. Right. And so when you go back and read a novel about what it was like to be a young courtesan in Venice, there are parallels to our own life.
Absolutely.
But I don't have to be as obvious as to say that. You'll get it kind of underneath.
That's right.